Am I live? Doesn't look like I'm live. Well, if anyone is here from YouTube, here we are. We are live. Cool. Let's give it a second. Okay. This is my first time doing a live. Miss Mary K. Brand. It looks like there are 8 people watching, so I guess I'll jump in. And this will still be here, just like a regular video after. Good evening, Chase. Hi. Okay, so this is just a question I've been getting a lot. So instead of recording a video and having it be edited and all of that, I figured I would just go live and answer the question. And I'm using an app so that I can share my screen as all my videos so that I can show you some more resources to simplify things. So the question I've been getting is, how do I get the PPP loan forgiven, specifically for those of you who are self-employed? Um, because you don't have payroll, right? If you're a small business with employees, then obviously you have payroll documents, and that's how you verify that the loan was spent on payroll. But what do you do when you're self-employed? So in this video, I'm going to break that down for you and answer that question. I'll be showing you a cheat sheet from my Paying Owners and Workers course, and I'll be looking at the spreadsheet template that I give away for free. Now, yes, Chase, that's many people haven't got it yet, but many people have as well. So stay on it. Like, don't just give up. You want to stay on it, and particularly credit unions, as well as some online banks have been getting people money. So it definitely depends when you apply, but as always, it's like I emphasized in other videos, it's all about getting a contact and kind of like knowing your stuff and staying on that contact and befriending them. As always with a loan, as it is with a mortgage, as it is with any type of loan, it's all about the bank gatekeepers, which are actually really salespeople. So it's all about forming that relationship with them, which is what they're primed at doing. So first thing that we got to cover as far as the self-employed, because when people are saying, when they're talking about applying for the PPP loan, they're saying, I'm just one employee, I'm self-employed. That's not true. So I'm going to share my cheat sheet with you for a second from one of my courses, because I think this is really helpful for the business types. So you should be able to see this on screen right now. And this really breaks it down. So when you are self-employed for taxes, okay, so you could be a single member LLC or you could be a sole proprietor. There's no difference between a sole proprietor and a contractor and getting a 1099 and just going out and doing work and being paid. No difference between all of those, right? Sole proprietor is the legal term for all of those situations, and it happens automatically. And in that situation, you're self-employed for taxes, which is the Schedule C with your personal return. Same thing for the single member LLC. So there's never an option for you to be paid as an employee. And so whenever you fill out any of these loan applications or you're helping anyone fill out any of these loan applications, keep that in mind, right? There you cannot be an employee in a self-employed business for taxes on Schedule C, nor with a partnership. Okay, does that make sense? No employees in these situations. The only time they could be an employee is if the LLC elected S Corp status. I'm going to check out the comments here. Hi, Ricky. Hello. Nice to see you. I always get your comments. Hi, Carolina. Yes. Well, yeah, this is definitely some new stuff. That's for sure. They've done things like this at different points, but really we got the PPP from other countries that have programs like this, although we didn't implement them as efficiently as other countries did, because we required this loan application process, whereas other countries just use the payroll filings and just reverse them, right? Sending the money out instead of where it usually came in. Okay, so once we have that piece down, when you're self-employed, when you're a sole proprietor, when your tax is a partnership, so if you're an LLC, tax is self-employed or a partnership, none of those situations are you ever an employee. On any loan application, if it says how many employees, you do not count you or any other worker or owner in that number. So if you don't have employees, if you're a contractor, you put 0. Okay? 0. So, and I promise that's the case. Some people have been getting quite testy, thinking like, no, they must be an employee. The reason I can promise you that that's the case is when you're an employee, you have to, just like you get a W-2 from when you work for a company, you have to do all of those things when you have employees. And you can only be an owner paid as an employee in an S corporation, and then you're having to do pay stubs, right? You're having to withhold from your pay all of those taxes and send them into the government, typically monthly. It depends on your range of total income. Yes, Link Inc. So that's why they're asking for 940 or 941. Because that's what you have when you do payroll. So you need to tell them you do not have employees. You are not an employee. So there were 2 parts to the PPP loan. And the language shows you that Congress and the people writing the bill do not understand this little cheat sheet right here. So if anyone knows them and wants to give them this cheat sheet, it would probably help us all for their next bill writing. But the difference between the people who could apply on the 3rd and the people who could apply on the 10th was that the ones who started first had employees. So a sole proprietor can have employees, but you're doing W-2 paychecks for them, which is complicated, which is, you're guaranteeing them some sort of hourly pay or salary, and then you're filing those W-2s, withholding the taxes, and 940 and 941 is what's filed quarterly. Or yearly for very low amounts. Nearly everyone qualifies for quarterly filing. So let me see one more question. So if I'm a single member LLC and want to get this PP forgiven, hopefully when I get it, do I just myself right? So I'm right there. So yes. So what you want to do as a self-employed person, because you don't have the payroll documents, is number one, first of all, you want to keep your accounting records. That's number one. In your accounting records, especially once you get to an LLC, once you're not a sole proprietors can just do income and expenses. And I've had some templates that go over that for free. I give away the free business spreadsheet template. For self-employed, for everyone, once you're no longer, once you're an LLC for the legal side of things, you should be keeping complete records, which means you're keeping track of, in addition to the income and expenses, all transfers in and out of your bank accounts, any money you put into the business, any money you take out of the business. It's under a capital account. And so by keeping your accounting records, you really have all of the information you need. And yes, I would highly recommend moving from any business account to your personal account each month. In total, you don't have to do it in one transfer, but you want to make sure you move out of that business account the amount that you qualified for. Now, that might not be necessary. I would just recommend keeping the accounting records, but if you can do that, I would do that. I would transfer the full amount out. And even if you need to transfer some of it back into the business, that's okay, but at least transfer that full amount out. It would be nice to do it in one chunk, just so that you can very easily show them that in your accounting records. Now, let me see what were the questions here. But when you fill out the EIDL, you have to put one as an employee in order to get that 1,000. That's nothing I've confirmed. No, I couldn't just write myself a check for what I would normally make for the week. No, well, you can. You certainly can do that. I'm not sure the extent. You might want to watch this from the start if you didn't see it from the start. But yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, is you want to just move from your business account to your personal account the average monthly amount that you qualified for and keep the records. Let's see this one. I'm a new business starting on 2/4/2020 as an LLC sole proprietor. I was asked for 940 and 941 to apply for the PPP. So it's just a matter of being clear and saying, I have no employees in my business. You need to say, I'm applying under the self-employed option that started on April 10th, and not the option for employees. So it's not wrong that they're asking for that, but there are two tracks to the PPP. People who could start applying on April 3rd were those with employees, and people who start on the 10th who did not have employees. That was for the self-employed. And, you know, the bankers, the reason why I've emphasized in other videos, really befriending your banker. And I've been talking to a lot of people locally who are doing this and who have made great progress. Some have received money, some have not quite yet, but they're very confident it's coming. They know it's coming. It really comes down to forming that relationship with someone and remembering that they are just people trying to help. Of course, on the top, the banks are very bad and everything that's happened is very bad. But on the bottom, it's just regular people who are trying to help you. And they don't know the stuff that I teach on this channel, right? They don't know that cheat sheet that I just showed you. They don't know the spreadsheet I'm going to show you in a moment. But essentially, the point of the PPP was you had to show that 75% went to payroll and it would be completely forgiven. So in your case as self-employed, yes, way less complicated, right? Obviously, just by you having the money, you're pretty much going to meet the criteria. But that's why I'm saying just keep your accounting records. I give away a free spreadsheet for that. I also give away a free, I'm going to share my screen, the free PPP spreadsheet for calculating average monthly payroll and the amount of the PPP loan. I'll come back to read the additional questions. You can check out other videos that go over this. I go through how you figure out how much aid you can apply for in total through multiple programs. And then there's a tab for contractors without separate accounting records. So if you have really basic situations, you could just put in your sales by month and expenses by month. And then down here, the bottom half, if you have your own accounting records, I have another one where you just put in your net income by month. And then I have other videos going over that, so I won't go into that. But it totals the amount of your loan, 2.5 times average monthly payroll. And then the bottom section, payroll certification, this was for you to keep track of how much you quote unquote paid yourself each month, since you got the funding. And you could really just keep track March, April, May, June. And that's why I'm saying just keep your accounting records and you'll have all the information you need. Each bank, just like with the application, each bank may ask for things, shown in a different way. But that's something you can easily put together if you have the accounting records. And if you have the time right now, it's a great opportunity, right, to get the accounting right. If you have a bunch of bank accounts, if you have a ton of transactions, I have an upgraded program with an auto template. And the course teaches you everything, right? It teaches you credit cards and all the questions that people have. Now, if you only have maybe 1 or 2 1099 jobs and maybe 2 or 3 expenses a month, you don't need that. You can totally just use my free course. But just know once you have more stuff going on, you're going to run into more questions. And I do have a really affordable paid course for that. Let me come back to the questions. Do you have any ideas how they're going to do the verification? Like, is it just going to be the expenses as they normally do listed on Schedule C, or are they going to request more in-depth? So some places have already requested, some banks are requesting Schedule C draft, which I'll show you in 1 second. It's quite simple to put together. As far as they can really do whatever they want. So I've talked to other people who have not been asked for a Schedule C draft and have actually received money. So it's really based on the individual banks as far as what they want to ask for. And it's the same thing for the documentation for it to be forgiven. And that's why I'm just emphasizing the accounting records, because if you do that, you'll be ready to go. Now, you can probably piece together the information they need regardless. One thing I can show you in the free spreadsheet template that I give away is the free version has a quarterly tax estimate worksheet, as well as an end of year tax totals worksheet. And it's just a very convenient way to categorize. Let's see. Here we go. It's a really convenient way to update your Schedule C, essentially. So this is one of the free templates, the LLC edition. Like I said, it's for an LLC with a few transactions. Once you go beyond that, it's just a much bigger time commitment, and it's a much bigger course that I put together. But having a bank reconciliation is like the bare minimum of complete records, because as an LLC, you should have separate bank accounts. Of course, if you didn't know that, if you didn't do that, then, there's all sorts of other decisions there. So if you want more help, I do have the paid program. For those of you who have figured a lot out on your own, this might be all you need. But you can see the number 3 says tax totals and write-offs. And so all of the light blue here is floating over from your income statement, the income accounts, expense accounts that you already entered in the total amounts. And then you're able to just select the Schedule C totals here really quickly. And it sums up everything, because what you'll find is on Schedule C, you'll only actually use a few categories. Advertising, supplies is a big one, anything related to what you do. There is an other category, but try to fit things in other places, office expenses. Other than that, a lot of them you may not use. Contract labor, if you paid anyone through a 1099, but otherwise, you might not use many other ones. And so if when you're updating your records, you have a lot of expenses and you call them, like I recommend calling them what they are, very specifically, this allows you to total them up at the end quickly. Okay. Let's see. I myself am self-employed. I have my own bookkeeping and accounting business. I have no employees. I'm also an SSI. Do I qualify for PPP and receiving the stimulus check? So my video that goes through calculating the amount you've lost because of PPP, that is how you yes, you would qualify because you're self-employed. I'm just going to show you really quickly the worksheet. Like, if you're wondering if you qualify, it comes down to how you've been hurt by COVID. And I go over this in the video titled, "Can I Apply to Multiple Stimulus Programs?" And you can see this worksheet, it's right after the worksheet that shows you how to save total amount lost due to COVID-19. This helps you estimate that, and that's the total amount to determine if you qualify. Okay, I'll take some more questions here. Chase. I filled out the PPP with Chase since I bank with them business wise, Square since that's who my merchant service is, and Blue Vine. The documents that I uploaded were my 2019 business tax returns. Great, you already did them. And they wanted the 1099K. Yes, that's great. Great documentation. And yes, I've been hearing people are having success as well. Credit unions for banks, and then local, like the online type services like online loan companies and things like Square as well. I hadn't heard of Square until now, but other similar types of online loan services, I've heard people are doing well through them as well. So that's great. And that's something to consider. Many of them were saying you don't have to have an account as well. I'm trying not to make a lot of noise on the microphone, moving around too much. Marianne, my income fluctuates, so how do I state the amount? Can I use last year's Schedule C? So it's going to depend on the bank, but the amount, I show you how to calculate that in the video titled Calculating the Amount of Your PPP Loan. For a contractor, it is going to be based on your average, and I have a template set up here. You have to save a copy of this to adjust it. The instructions are on the first tab, but you go File, Save, and I will link. You go File, Make a Copy. Sorry. File, Make a Copy, or you can go Download and choose Excel, but you can't change the template. So you've got to save it first, and then you'll be able to use this. We'll link, there's a whole playlist. My last videos that were posted on my channel are all about the PPP. And basically, to come up with the amount you qualify for, it's the average monthly amount over your past 12 months or 2019. And so that's what this template walks you through doing. And then it's your amount of the loan is 2.5 times your average monthly payroll. Thank you so much. I'm so confused with this. Great. I'm glad it helped. LNK Inc. Thanks. Regular people, not business. Yes. Regular people, not business-minded people. I knew I was being given bad information from this nonprofit trying to help. Yeah. Yes, I volunteer through SCORE, and they were doing all sorts of things. Anyways, how do you work? How does this work for online membership business? So I would not think that an online membership business would be affected by COVID-19. Caroline, you look really good on camera. Thanks. But to get PPP forgiven, do you transfer money from biz to personal? What is the average monthly payroll amount you qualify for? So maybe, oh no, you were here from the beginning, I think. Yes. Well, so again, I have a separate video that goes into this super detailed, but it's your average. So I have one here, contractor with separate accounting records and contractor without separate accounting records. So if you don't have accounting records, I presume hopefully you just have a few things. If not, you can check out my free courses and paid course if you need it to get organized. You're just going to take your sales or 1099 income each month, and then your expenses over the past year or 12 months of 2019. It's your choice. And I walk you through choosing that in here. The instructions are here. That video goes through detail. This is calculating your average net income from your business per month. That's considered your take-home pay that you've been living off of from your business. So we average that, gives you your average monthly payroll here. The loan amount is 2.5, so 2.5 months times what your average monthly payroll is, payroll that you've been living off of from your business. Good question. Can we use it for the rental properties that we have? We use Schedule E. Will that be considered? there's been a lot of discrepancies in this area. It was intended to cover mortgage payments, like to cover actual fixed cost. So for businesses with employees, it was the amount to cover your employees plus any fixed costs. Because if you think about it, if a business has stopped working, then they would stop incurring their costs, right? Most costs they're going to stop incurring that are related to that, except for fixed costs, such as a mortgage or rent. So the loans were initially, that's why 75% has to be spent on payroll and the other 25%. There was something about adding on those additional costs. However, I have not dealt with anyone who has gotten additional monies for that. It sounds like some large companies did come in and really abuse that. So at this point, I don't have a yes or no on that Schedule E. It does not sound like it. Now, partly the banks have been massively bailed out. And so what you really want to do is you want to go to your bank if you have a mortgage and ask for a delayed payment, or if you just you for whatever reason, you want a delayed payment, you could go talk to them about that. But that's going to be the only time. It's definitely not going to, the PPP program was to replace payroll. So that was the purpose. I don't believe, I haven't heard of anyone including Schedule E at this point. Let's say I average 5K a month in sole proprietor payroll. Is that what you transfer? So you're going to base it on what your loan amount actually is. So once you get to here on the worksheet, so you get to average monthly payroll, that's what you apply for the PPP loan. And so once you get that amount, then yes, each month you want to take out your, in this case, $4,442, and you'd get $11,105. And so each month you can just put in, the amount that you're transferring, which is called capital withdrawals if you're an LLC. And again, they might not even require that. Like just having your accounting records is really, I think, all you need to do. They may not even require that documentation. But if you do have a business account, not everyone even has a business account. If you do have a business account, then I think it's a good idea to at least transfer that full amount that you qualified for within a month, so within, if you get it in May, transfer 1 month in May, maybe catch up half a month and then do the next month in June. That would be ideal, just so you did it. Even if you need to transfer some of that money back into your business because you're going to invest in some other stuff, at least transfer it out so you have that transfer on record. Rigo, do you have any videos for S Corp in regards to paid wages, W-2, and owner withdrawal? I'm trying to do the math, and I don't know how much to pay myself in a W-2. So that is covered in my paying owners and workers course. I actually have a template that walks you through calculating that based on the different factors that the IRS has laid out, which are essentially you want to calculate and document that amount. And then all of the money you withdraw goes towards that until you're above that amount. And then that can be withdrawn separately. With the S Corp, though, some people are getting all excited about that extra money and going, oh, it's taxed at dividend lower rate. But keep in mind, you've got to keep track of basis because it may not be taxed at all. So that concept, I'm trying to keep it very simple. It gets a bit complicated. I have a complete other course called Tracking Basis in LLCs, S Corps, and Partnerships. So those are some concepts to be aware of in the S Corp. If you're going to go that S Corp route. Awesome. Thank you, LNK Inc. Caroline, if you have 2 jobs, can you apply for 2 PPP loans with one social? I do not believe so. But you use the word job, so I'm assuming you mean 1099. Is that correct? Because those, if it's for like you should be doing that as your one job. Like you can have multiple 1099s, you can have multiple people paying you. Um, you probably should be doing that as one. So you're entering the total income, total expenses, etc. Whew. Well, thanks for your questions, guys. Rigo, let me know if I answered your question. If you have any follow-up, I'm glad you guys were on to ask. I'm sure other people will find it helpful as well. The S Corp, calculating reasonable compensation, to go back to your question, Rigo, calculating reasonable compensation, you want to base it on what would someone be paid if you were going to sub out your job. What would you be paying someone for it? And you may need to divide up your job into multiple positions. And sometimes that can actually lower the amount. And so my template breaks that out for you. As it breaks out, the different, list out the different things you do related to running the business, answering emails or like admin related tasks. What would you pay someone for that on average? And that way it'll come up for the yeah. I have a video that's currently being edited for the S Corp that goes over my course, Choosing the Best Type of Business, has a spreadsheet template that allows you to compare your different scenarios. The S Corp, it saves corporations taxes. It was set up so that the corporation could be taxed as a partnership. You're already taxed as a partnership, being an LLC. The only difference is you have to pay yourself as a W-2 employee, which includes calculating reasonable compensation, because for a while it was being abused by tax preparers as a way to save people taxes. The IRS has totally cracked down on that. Now, I wish the IRS would have said, LLCs can't elect S Corp status. Why? Why are we letting them? But I think a lot of people, even at the IRS, at different levels, they don't necessarily have the expertise either. So what I'm saying is, unless you want to pay yourself as an employee, you may want to do away with the S Corp status. It is not saving you money. I promise. Okay, got some more. Cool. Angela, what if I am still allowed to reopen long after the PPP is spent and the deadline is for being at 100% head count? So I take it you have employees. Is that, what if I'm allowed to reopen long after the PPP is spent? So I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. You can add in some additional information if you want me to try and answer that. If you mean like they're out of money and are you going to be able to get money anyway? It does look like Congress is going to do another program. But I'm not really sure what you're asking. So do ask again. I have a few more minutes here. S Corp is very complicated. Yes, Rigo, it is. Go talk. I got approved for 2 different instructions for PPP. What should I do? So if you're getting different instructions, it's probably the different banks telling you the different things they want. And that's exactly what I was saying before. If you missed it, you might want to watch the beginning. So the bank is the gatekeeper. I mean, they get to decide what they want. Congress did not make it uniform So banks do have different banks may ask for different things. And I have heard from different people that they are asking for different things. So that's okay. You just got to decide who you're going to go with. Like I said, some of these online, it seems people are having better experiences with smaller banks or online kind of like loan payroll processing companies. So you may want to go that route. You're welcome, Ricky. Thanks for coming. Hi, Erin. We got the EIDL the day after PPP was deposited into our account. Do we have to subtract 1,000 from EIDL from our PPP? So that, great question. Awesome, guys. See another person who's gotten money. I'm not lying. Erin, so if you check out my free spreadsheet template, and if you check out the video, can I use multiple programs? Can I apply for multiple stimulus programs? So if you see the first tab is the instructions to save, the second tab says total amount lost due to COVID-19. You want to look at your accounting records and update the amount you lost because of COVID. Generally, you can the concept was with the initial bills, and there's not been anything technically replacing this, is that you can replace up to the amount you lost with as many programs as you can. Now, obviously, within those programs, they have their own rules, and some unemployment is saying stuff, and some this is saying stuff, but that was the general route. So, in other words, don't make money off of the programs. So you may want to calculate this amount first, because this amount isn't going to be limited by that 100,000, 8,333 per month amount. So as long as as long as you were still hurt by that amount, then in theory, you're fine. And having that record is a good thing, because you could always say, well, look, we were hurt by this amount. That's why we kept it if it ever came up. If you were asked about that in the PPP, and you didn't, and you said you hadn't gotten it, then you may want to ask them specifically. But I would calculate that amount first so that you could say, we do need this. We were hurt by this amount. Great question, Nadine. Not related to this, but I tried to download your free worksheet and the link isn't working. It's definitely working now. And regardless, I can show you really quickly. You can go to www.amandarussell.mba. I'll share my screen really quickly to show you. So when you get to my website, you can get the free spreadsheet template just by clicking here. And then you download now, and it's going to send you a username and password to log in. It also sends you versions in an email that you can just click either the Google Sheets or the Excel. Now, one thing a lot of people miss out, and it applies to the PPP template, you can see all of these little icons are people in these templates in Google Sheets. You can't start typing in here because you'd be changing the template. This applies to all of my templates. You have to go File, make a copy, and save it to your Google Drive. You can do download to Excel, but I recommend saving my Excel version instead where provided, because some formulas don't download properly. Okay, hopefully that helps. What if I'm not allowed to open? Maybe that was what I was just referring to about how to save it. Yes, I do. I do consultations, Janice. When you're on my website, amandarussell.mba, you just go to meetings right here. You can schedule in, book my appointment. It'll allow you to actually schedule and pay I also have e-courses, which I also have the e-courses as well, which so oftentimes I will refer people into the course. And if that's, if you don't really have anything else to talk about, then I give you some credit for the call as well. Um, sorry, I meant to say two different institutions. Hope to see you, Janice. Go talk. Sorry, I meant to say two different institutions. You got approved with two different institutions. Well, that's totally up to you. You've got to make the call of which one you want to go with. Maybe kind of you could do a bit of Googling just to see like PPP experience with XYZ institution, while keeping in mind that everyone is going to have a fair amount of complaints, I'm sure, at every bank. Personally, I tend to stay away from the bigger banks, but I know someone having a great time with Wells Fargo. So, it's really hit or miss. I would go with wherever you have the better contact, where you feel like you really trust the person, they're really on your side and trying to help you, go with that person. Are we getting the 10K grant as originally promised? It was never a 10K grant for everyone. And that was part of an old program through the SBA. I have another video that goes through that program. No, so great question. Okay, wait, I skipped a few here. Chase, I am single LLC, as you know, but I do not write myself checks. That's fine. Many people don't. You could just transfer, or if it's just a personal account, that's fine. Just keeping those accounting records of what you're spending your money on. I don't think it's going to be difficult to prove for the PPP. Nadine, you got 1,000 from the EIDL. So that's the advance from the loan, right? Great. In New Hampshire, that's where I'm from. Scott Davies, what if my employees don't want to work because they're making more on unemployment? I have never found that people want to not work. So I would really push back on that. Many people are not enjoying being home at all. So now I know some people, like I'm encouraging some people who are in industries where they're tip earners, right? Where they're definitely going to, the owners are going to have to really take a look at why should they bring back all these people and be putting people in a horrible situation where they're not going to make enough money, right? Like they're not going to be making the money they had before. So as a business owner, you've got to really look at if your employees aren't wanting to come back. I really take, I'm a big, take 100% responsibility. 100%, you just sit down and you go, all right, it makes me so angry. This is my mistake because, and you start writing and you answer that question and you find your role in it and you figure out I guarantee you have the answers, and I guarantee people do not want to be at home. They do not want to be on unemployment. And if they're there, maybe, and guaranteed, like if you have a few employees, like one might need to be home, like they have, their life is a mess and they just need to be home, and that's okay, and you go that way. Nadine, the download button doesn't work, really? Interesting. People are signing up, though. We've had like 100 signups a day. I will email my assistant after this and we'll figure that out. Thank you so much. Rigo, so if you go to my website, like I showed, you can book a meeting with me. That's the only way I offer, private consultations. I'm probably going to advise you into one of the courses, but if that's the case, then I do give you credit towards that. So check out my website, amandarussell.mba, like Master's Business Admin. Thank you, Erin. So nice to see you. Nice to see people from real life on YouTube. Angelo, Goat Talk. Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't remember what we were talking about. Goat. Thank you all. Awesome. Took me 3 days. Wow. So Square went through in 3 days. Is that correct? We'll do another one on banks that have gone through. One last question. Goat Talk. Do I need a payroll account to track for self-employed? I do not have a business account. Okay, so I think you need to, I'm going to end this video. Definitely rewatch the beginning because I cover all of that. You have nothing to do with payroll as a self-employed person. No payroll. You are not an employee. You are not payroll. It's your net business income that they're basing the amount on because that's what you've lived off of. And so that's the amount that you want to, make sure you transfer out of a business account. Maybe you mean business account. If you don't have a business, you do have a business account. So you don't need to worry about it. It's just moving your business, net business income or the amount of the average monthly payroll into your personal account. Okay, I think I've been live for a while now, though, and I have to go by 4. So thank you so much, Bert. The link will be fixed in 1 second. I'm going to email my assistant, and we will make sure it's fixed. Aaron, PUA just opened in Oahu for independent contractors. Apply for you. I think this could cover wages lost before the date we receive the PPP. Does that work? So again, Aaron, same thing. Go to the PPP worksheet. So all of my last videos, and we'll update the description for this one. But right now, all of my last videos about the stimulus programs have these videos linked. The PPP loans, calculating average monthly payroll, calculate total amount lost due to COVID-19. The video that says, can I participate in multiple programs for stimulus money? That video walks you through this worksheet. And they were supposed to, we'll make sure that these worksheets link the relevant video that goes over the worksheet. Calculate that amount, right? So that you know the total amount you can collect through any program. So again, it's the video called, Can I Use Multiple Stimulus Programs? It's multiple stimulus programs, self-employed. That's what the thumbnail says. It's one of the last posted videos. All of that will be linked in the description below this recording as well. You'll be able to watch it from the beginning once I end it. And yeah, check out this and calculate your total amount lost due to COVID. And then go from there because you can replace that entire amount, which we're continuing to go on, right? So you'll continue to update this. I might add June in here now as well. And just estimate for May and, so you fill in these 4 months here, February, March, April, May, and the total amount you've lost at this point. And then keep in mind, where do you think you're going to be at June, and just have that total amount. Then look at what you got from PPP, then look at what you got from the EIDL, and then look to apply in other places. That's great if you can hopefully get it all covered. Okay, cool. You got 1,000 EIDL, Peggy. Cool, great. Good to hear. You're welcome, Mr. Jiwi. PUA. What is PUA, Erin? Funny clips, Amazon sole proprietorship. Well, definitely rewatch this video if you just came on. If you're working on Amazon, a lot of, I don't really, if you have an online business, quite frankly, I don't think that you should be applying for things. If you've been heavily affected, just like the question I was just answering, look at that video where I talk about, can you apply to multiple programs and calculate the total amount lost due to COVID. I don't consider an online business, even if sales dipped and you could say, well, I think it's because of COVID. I just think that so many people are working and our economy is not totally collapsing. And I wouldn't apply. If I see my sales dip, I'm not going to say it's because of COVID. So I don't think that online sales have really been affected. Amazon is doing fabulous. I mean, Amazon is like having their highest year. So, but, up to you. Maybe you sell something that is very specific. So, I'm not going to answer for you. That's up for you to decide if you've been affected, and for when you talk to the loan representative for a company as well. So, okay, well, I hope that answers everyone's questions. We will update the description and I'll check back and we'll answer some of the comments as well. Pandemic unemployment, yes. Well, great to see everyone. I hope that really helps, and do watch the recording if you showed up late, and have a great day or evening if you're on the East Coast. And I'm going to figure out how